Questions. Let me start with a simple question. How many of you want to be valued, not liked, not followed, not admired for a moment, but valued deeply, consistently, respectfully? It's a short pause. Today, questions. The world is very strange. A woman can have 10,000 followers, yet feel completely invisible. She can be busy all day, yet feel empty at night. She can look confident on Instagram, questions, but cry quietly on her pillow. So today, I'm not here to teach you how to look high value. I'm here to talk about how to become high value. Because value is not a filter. Value is not a brand. Questions. Value is not someone choosing you. Questions. Every battle that truly matters is fought silently inside you. Before the world decides how to treat you, you decide how you treat yourself. Questions. Most people wake up every morning and immediately hand over control of their inner world to notifications, messages, expectations, and comparisons. A high-value woman does the opposite. Questions. She understands that her greatest power is not how loudly she speaks, but how deeply she listens to her own mind. Think about a normal day. You wake up, look in the mirror, questions, and within seconds your mind starts talking. I look tired. I should have done better. Why am I not where others are? This voice becomes your constant companion. Questions. Now here is the truth most people never realize. The quality of your life is directly linked to the quality of your inner conversation. If your inner voice is harsh, critical, and impatient, questions, no amount of external success will ever feel enough. A high-value woman notices this voice. She doesn't fight it, and she doesn't blindly believe it either. She observes it. When her mind says, questions, you're not good enough, she doesn't panic. She gently responds, I may not be perfect, but I am growing. This simple shift changes everything. Life does not become easier, questions, but she becomes stronger. Look at daily life. Imagine you make a small mistake at work. For many people, that one mistake becomes a full day punishment. They replay it again and again, questions, questioning their worth, their intelligence, their future. But a woman who has mastered her inner world learns from the mistake and moves on. She asks questions. What can this teach me? Instead of what is wrong with me? This mindset protects her peace and sharpens her confidence. Another example of rejection. Maybe someone doesn't choose you, questions, doesn't value you, or walks away. An untrained mind immediately turns inward and says, I wasn't enough. A high-value woman pauses and asks a better question. Questions. Was this aligned with me? She understands that rejection is not always a reflection of her worth. Sometimes it is simply redirection. Because her self-esteem is not outsourced to others. Questions. She doesn't collapse when someone leaves. Mastering your inner world also means emotional discipline. Emotions are not the enemy, but being controlled by them is dangerous. Questions. A high-value woman allows herself to feel sadness, anger, or disappointment, but she does not let those emotions decide her actions. She doesn't send messages she will regret later. Questions. She doesn't react in the heat of the moment. She gives herself time, space, and silence. In that pause, wisdom is born. Look at how she handles comparison. In today's world, questions. Comparison is just one scroll away. Someone is always richer, happier, prettier, more successful. A weak inner world feels threatened by this. A strong inner world feels inspired or neutral. Questions. A high-value woman reminds herself, their journey is not my journey. She knows that flowers don't compete with each other. They simply bloom in their own season. Questions. She also understands the importance of solitude. Not loneliness, but intentional alone time. In daily life, this could be a quiet morning with tea, a walk without headphones, or journaling before bed. Questions. These moments help her check in with herself. She asks, how am I really feeling? Because when you ignore your inner world for too long, it starts screaming through anxiety, burnout, questions, or emotional exhaustion. Another powerful daily habit is self-respect in thoughts. When she fails, she doesn't insult herself. When she feels tired, she doesn't call herself lazy. Questions. When she needs rest, she doesn't feel guilty. She treats herself the way she would treat someone she deeply loves. This internal respect slowly reflects externally. Questions. People begin to sense her stability, her self-assurance, her grounded presence. Mastering the inner world also means choosing what you consume mentally. Just as you are careful about what you eat. Questions. A high-value woman is careful about what she watches, listens to, and absorbs. Constant negativity, gossip, and drama pollute the mind. She chooses content, conversations, questions, and environments that nourish her, not drain her. Over time, something beautiful happens. When challenges arise, she doesn't crumble. When chaos surrounds her, she remains calm. Questions. When life doesn't go according to plan, she adapts instead of panicking. This calm is not accidental. It is the result of daily inner work, quiet discipline, and self-awareness. Questions. Master your inner world and you will notice a shift. You will stop seeking constant validation. You will stop explaining yourself unnecessarily. You will stop chasing approval. Questions. Not because you don't care, but because you are already full inside. A high-value woman is not made in public. She is built in private, in her thoughts, in her silence. Questions. In the way she speaks to herself when nobody is listening. And when the inner world is strong, the outer world has no choice but to respond differently. Questions. One of the biggest misunderstandings in modern life is this idea that being available all the time makes you valuable. In reality, constant availability often does the opposite. Questions. When you are always reachable, always responding, always adjusting, people slowly stop respecting your time, your energy, and even your presence. A high-value woman understands a simple truth. Questions. Availability is easy, but selectivity is powerful. Look at daily life. Imagine a shop that is open 24/7 with no rules, no limits, and everything on sale all the time. At first, it sounds attractive. Questions. But over time, people stop valuing what's inside. Now imagine a place that opens at certain hours, maintains quality, and is intentional about what it offers. People plan for it. They respect it. Questions. They value it. The same principle applies to human energy. A high-value woman does not disappear or become cold. She is warm, kind, and respectful. But she does not give unlimited access to everyone. Questions. She understands that her time is a non-renewable resource. Once a day is gone, it never comes back. So she chooses where her time goes and who gets her attention. In daily situations. Questions. This shows up in small but powerful ways. She doesn't feel pressured to reply instantly to every message. Not because she is playing games, but because she is present in her own life. Questions. She might be working, resting, learning, or simply enjoying silence. She knows that urgency created by others does not automatically become her responsibility. Think about conversations. Questions. Some people only reach out when they are lonely or in need. A high-value woman notices patterns. She doesn't confront aggressively, but she adjusts quietly. Questions. She stops over giving where effort is one-sided. She understands that mutual energy is the foundation of healthy connections. Being selective also means choosing environments wisely. Questions. She doesn't attend every gathering just to be seen. She doesn't force herself into spaces where she feels drained or disrespected. If a place, a group, questions, or a situation constantly makes her feel smaller, she steps back, not with anger but with clarity. She knows that peace is more valuable than presence. In relationships, questions, this quality becomes even more important. A high-value woman does not rush intimacy, emotionally or otherwise. She allows people to reveal who they are over time. She watches how they treat others. Questions. How they handle stress, how they respect boundaries. She doesn't confuse attention with intention. Anyone can give attention. Very few give consistency, effort, and respect. Questions. This selectivity is not about arrogance. It is about self-awareness. She knows what she can offer and what she will not tolerate. She doesn't feel guilty for having standards. Questions. She understands that when you accept less than you deserve, you slowly teach others how to treat you. Daily life offers many moments to practice this. When someone speaks to her without respect, questions, she doesn't laugh it off to keep the peace. She addresses it calmly or removes herself. When someone repeatedly cancels plans or disrespects her time, she doesn't make excuses for them. Questions. She adjusts her availability. Silence and distance often communicate boundaries better than long explanations. Another powerful example is emotional availability. Questions. A high-value woman doesn't emotionally pour into people or emotionally unavailable, inconsistent, or careless. She protects her heart not by building walls, but by building awareness. Questions. She understands that emotional energy is precious. Once given to the wrong place, it takes time to recover. Selectivity also applies to opinions. She doesn't seek validation from everyone. Questions. She listens to feedback from people who have earned the right to advise her. Not every comment deserves a response, and not every opinion deserves space in her mind. Questions. This mental selectivity keeps her grounded and confident. Over time, something interesting happens. People start to respect her boundaries, even if they don't fully understand them. Questions. Some may walk away, and that's okay. A high-value woman is not afraid of being misunderstood. She is more afraid of betraying herself just to be accepted. In a world where oversharing is normalized, questions. She values privacy. She doesn't explain her every move. She doesn't announce every plan. This mystery is not intentional performance. It is a natural result of living a full, inwardly rich life. Questions. When your life is meaningful, you don't feel the need to constantly prove it. Being selective also means choosing yourself daily. Choosing rest over burnout. Questions. Choosing silence over unnecessary arguments. Choosing quality connections over crowded rooms. These choices may look small, but they quietly elevate her life. Questions. A high-value woman knows that when she becomes selective, she doesn't lose people of value. She only loses people who benefited from her lack of boundaries. Questions. And that loss creates space for healthier relationships, deeper peace, and a stronger sense of self. She doesn't chase, she doesn't beg, she doesn't overextend. Questions. She simply stands in her worth and allows life to meet her there. Questions. We live in a world that teaches women to be seen before they are heard. From a very young age, the message is subtle but constant. Look good, present well, impress quickly. Questions. There is nothing wrong with beauty. Aesthetics can open doors, create first impressions, and boost confidence. But a high-value woman understands something deeper. Beauty may start conversations, questions, but skills sustain respect. Look at daily life. Imagine two women entering the same room. One is visually striking, polished, and confident. The other may be simple in appearance, but when she speaks, questions, people listen, her words have clarity, her ideas have substance. Her presence feels grounded. Over time, attention naturally shifts, because while beauty captures the eye, skill captures the mind. Questions. A high-value woman does not neglect her appearance, but she does not build her identity on it either. She knows that looks change with time, circumstances, and seasons of life. Skills, however, questions, compound. What you learn today continues to serve you tomorrow, next year, and even a decade later. This long-term thinking is what sets her apart. Think about communication skills. Questions. In everyday situations, a workplace discussion, a family disagreement, or a difficult conversation with a partner, the ability to express thoughts calmly and clearly becomes priceless. Questions. A woman who can articulate her needs without aggression and her boundaries without guilt automatically commands respect. She doesn't raise her voice to be powerful. Her clarity does the work. Questions. Emotional intelligence is another daily life superpower. A high-value woman learns how to read situations, understand emotions, and respond thoughtfully. When someone is upset, questions. She doesn't take everything personally. When tension rises, she doesn't escalate it. She knows when to speak and when silence will speak louder. Questions. This skill saves her from unnecessary drama and protects her peace. Financial awareness is also part of building skills. This doesn't mean obsession with money, but understanding it. Questions. She knows how to manage what she earns, plan for the future, and make informed decisions. In daily life, this shows up as independence. Questions. She doesn't feel trapped in situations because of financial ignorance. Knowledge gives her choices, and choices give her dignity. Look at problem solving. Life is unpredictable. Plans fall apart. Questions. People disappoint. Circumstances change. A high-value woman doesn't panic at every inconvenience. She has trained her mind to look for solutions instead of blaming. Questions. Whether it's a missed opportunity, a work challenge, or a personal setback, she asks, "What can I do now?" That question alone makes her resilient. Another powerful skill is self-regulation. Questions. In daily interactions, emotions often try to take control. A rude comment, a delayed response, a misunderstanding. These moments test character. Questions. A woman who has developed inner discipline doesn't react impulsively. She pauses, she breathes, she chooses her response. This restraint is often mistaken for softness, but it is actually strength. Questions. Learning how to learn is also a skill. A high-value woman remains curious. She reads, listens, observes, and upgrades herself quietly. She doesn't wait for life to force growth upon her. Questions. Whether it's improving her professional abilities, understanding human behavior, or developing a new interest, she treats self-improvement as a lifestyle, not a phase. In relationships, questions. Skills matter more than charm. The ability to listen without interrupting, to understand without immediately judging, and to support without losing oneself creates healthy bonds. Questions. A woman with these skills doesn't rely on emotional manipulation or attention seeking. She brings stability, maturity, and depth into connections. Daily life also demands adaptability. Questions. The world is changing rapidly, technology evolves, roles shift, and expectations transform. A high-value woman does not cling rigidly to outdated identities. Questions. She upgrades her skills to stay relevant and confident. This adaptability keeps her from feeling insecure or left behind. Over time, people begin to trust her competence. They come to her for advice, questions, collaboration, and leadership, not because she demands authority, but because her skills naturally position her as reliable. Respect grows quietly, without force. Questions. Building skills also creates inner confidence. When you know you can handle situations, communicate effectively, and solve problems, you stop seeking constant reassurance. Questions. You don't fear challenges as much. You don't shrink in unfamiliar spaces. This confidence is calm, not loud. A high-value woman understands that beauty fades, trends change, questions, and validation is unstable. Skills, however, create substance. They give her a voice that carries weight and a presence that lasts. She invests in herself not for applause, but for alignment. Questions, and that is why even in silence, she stands out. Questions. Emotional independence is one of the most misunderstood and yet most powerful qualities a woman can develop. Many people confuse it with being cold, detached, or uninterested in relationships. Questions. In reality, emotional independence is about being deeply connected to yourself before depending on someone else. A high-value woman feels her emotions fully. Questions, but she does not let her emotional stability depend on how others treat her. Look at daily life. Imagine waking up and checking your phone. Questions, and your mood for the entire day depends on whether someone replied, liked your post, or showed interest. Questions. One small action from another person suddenly has the power to make or break your emotional state. A woman who is emotionally independent notices this pattern and gently breaks it. Questions. She learns to generate her own sense of worth, peace, and happiness from within. This doesn't mean she doesn't value relationships. She does, questions. But she doesn't place her emotional survival in someone else's hands. She enjoys connection, but she doesn't collapse in its absence. When plans get cancelled or expectations aren't met, questions. She feels disappointed, but she doesn't feel destroyed. This emotional stability becomes her quiet strength. In everyday situations, emotional independence shows up in how she handles uncertainty. Questions. If someone is inconsistent, distant, or unclear, she doesn't overanalyze every word or silence. She observes behavior instead of creating stories in her mind. Questions. She understands that clarity comes from patterns, not promises. This saves her from unnecessary anxiety and emotional exhaustion. Think about conflict. Questions. Many people fear disagreement because they fear abandonment. An emotionally independent woman can express her feelings honestly without panicking about being disliked or left. Questions. She knows that her truth matters. She doesn't suppress herself to keep others comfortable, nor does she explode to be heard. She communicates from a place of self-respect. Questions. Daily life also brings loneliness at times. Instead of running from it, she learns to sit with it. She might take herself out for a walk, cook a meal she enjoys, or spend quiet time reflecting. Questions. She doesn't rush to fill emptiness with noise, people, or distractions. Over time, solitude becomes a source of clarity rather than fear. Emotional independence also changes how she experiences love. Questions. She doesn't seek someone to complete her, she seeks someone to complement her. Love becomes a choice, not a necessity. Because she is already whole, she can love without attachment. Questions. Give without losing herself and care without controlling. Another daily life example is dealing with criticism. When someone disapproves of her choices, she doesn't immediately question her worth. Questions. She evaluates feedback calmly. If it's useful, she applies it. If it's not, she lets it go. She doesn't need everyone to agree with her to feel secure. Questions. This inner confidence protects her from manipulation and self-doubt. Emotional independence also means taking responsibility for your feelings. A high-value woman doesn't say, questions, "You made me feel this way." She understands that emotions are signals, not commands. When she feels triggered, she looks inward and asks questions. What is this teaching me? This mindset turns emotional pain into self-awareness instead of drama. In relationships, this quality creates balance. She doesn't cling. She doesn't chase questions. She doesn't test or manipulate for reassurance. She gives space without fear and asks for clarity without desperation. This grounded energy often makes relationships healthier and more respectful. Questions. Daily stress is another test. Work pressure, family expectations, social comparisons. All of these can overwhelm the mind. An emotionally independent woman has tools to regulate herself. Questions. She might breathe deeply, journal, pray, meditate, or simply pause before reacting. She understands that reacting impulsively gives power to the moment. Questions. While responding consciously gives power back to her. One of the most beautiful outcomes of emotional independence is freedom. Freedom from constantly seeking approval. Questions. Freedom from emotional highs and lows dictated by others. Freedom to walk away from what no longer aligns without guilt or fear. This doesn't mean she never feels pain. She does. Questions. But she trusts herself to handle it. She knows that heartbreak will not break her, disappointment will not define her, and loneliness will not destroy her. Questions. She has built an inner home strong enough to hold her emotions. Over time, people sense this stability. They feel safe around her. Her presence is calming, not demanding. She doesn't drain energy. Questions. She radiates balance. A high-value woman becomes emotionally independent, not to isolate herself, but to love more freely, live more peacefully, and stand more firmly in who she is. Questions. And once she reaches that place, no one can take her power away. Questions. One of the quiet struggles many women face is the fear of disappointing others. From a young age, they are taught to be agreeable, accommodating, and understanding questions, even at the cost of their own comfort. Over time, this habit slowly erodes self-respect. A high-value woman learns a powerful lesson. Protecting her boundaries is not selfish, it is necessary. Questions. Boundaries are not walls meant to shut people out. They are clear lines that show others how to treat you. Without them, people may not intentionally hurt you. Questions. But they will unintentionally take more than you can give. Daily life offers countless examples. A friend who calls at inconvenient hours. A colleague who expects you to pick up extra work. Questions. A family member who dismisses your feelings. Without boundaries, these situations become emotional drains. Questions. A high-value woman understands that saying yes when she wants to say no creates inner resentment. Questions. She would rather face temporary discomfort from setting a boundary than long-term exhaustion from ignoring her needs. When she declines, she does so calmly and respectfully. Questions, without over-explaining or apologizing excessively. She knows that confidence does not require justification. In everyday interactions, this might look simple. Questions. She doesn't answer work messages late at night if it disrupts her rest. She doesn't cancel her own plans repeatedly to accommodate others. Questions. She doesn't engage in conversations that turn disrespectful or manipulative. These choices may seem small, but they shape how people perceive and treat her. Questions. Setting boundaries without guilt also means accepting that not everyone will like them. Some people benefit from your lack of boundaries, and when you begin to assert yourself, questions, they may react with resistance or disappointment. A high-value woman anticipates this and remains grounded. She understands that someone's discomfort does not mean she is doing something wrong. Questions. Another daily life example is emotional boundaries. She does not absorb other people's moods, frustrations, or unresolved trauma as her responsibility. She listens with empathy, questions, but she does not become an emotional dumping ground. When conversations start to drain her repeatedly, she redirects or limits access. She knows that compassion without limits leads to burnout. Questions. In relationships, boundaries protect love rather than weaken it. She communicates her needs clearly instead of expecting others to guess. She doesn't tolerate disrespect. Questions. Even when emotions are involved, she understands that love without respect slowly turns into pain. By honoring her limits, she teaches others how to love her properly. Questions. Boundaries also exist in self-talk and self-expectations. A high-value woman does not push herself beyond exhaustion just to prove worth. She allows herself to rest without guilt. Questions. She stops comparing her pace with others. She respects her own energy levels and emotional capacity. This internal boundary is just as important as external ones. At work, questions. Boundaries help her maintain professionalism and dignity. She delivers quality, but she doesn't allow herself to be exploited. She speaks up when expectations become unreasonable. Questions. She understands that giving does not guarantee appreciation, but self-respect often does. Daily social situations test boundaries constantly. Invitations she doesn't want to attend. Questions. Conversations that feel intrusive, advice she didn't ask for. Instead of forcing politeness at the cost of comfort, she responds honestly and gracefully. Questions. That doesn't work for me, or I'm not comfortable discussing that, become complete sentences in her life. Questions. Setting boundaries without guilt also requires letting go of the need to be understood by everyone. A high-value woman is okay with being misunderstood if it means being true to herself. Questions. She knows that clarity comes from consistency, not explanation. Over time, people either adjust or drift away. Both outcomes create more peace. Questions. One of the most powerful daily realizations she has is this: people who truly respect you will respect your boundaries. Those who don't were benefiting from your silence. Questions. This awareness removes guilt and replaces it with confidence. As she practices setting boundaries, something shifts internally. She feels lighter, calmer, and more in control of her life. Questions. She no longer carries resentment for things she agreed to unwillingly. Her energy is preserved for what truly matters. Boundaries are an act of self-love. They say, questions. I matter. A high-value woman does not wait for permission to honor herself. She chooses herself daily, not loudly, but firmly. And in doing so, she creates a life where respect, peace, questions, and balance are not rare moments, but everyday experiences.